Hi, I'm Danny Whitfield.
And I'm Rhoda Whitfield. And it's time for another segment of Marriage Takes Work. Hello, and welcome to another segment of Marriage Takes Work. Today, we will begin a new series centered around flaws within your spouse and self. We have a great topic for discussion today, along with our weekly guests, Elder Darrick and First Lady Takia McGhee. How are you both doing today?
I'm well.
It is well.
Good.
Oh, good then. Good then.
Glad to have you guys back with us as we go into this topic. In a relationship, if we are not careful, the flaws of our spouses can be our focal point, our focus, and we can set ourselves up to be judge and jury. And we find ourselves expressing it in several ways: disapproval, harsh critiques, attempts to correct our spouse as though they are a child, blaming them for problems or issues in our relationship, nitpicking or finding ourselves in an effort to fix them. Does any of that sound familiar to anybody out there? The critical partner may believe that they are seeking to make things better or to improve it through their words and actions. However, their criticism may be toxic to their marriage. Toxic criticism is when somebody chews you out and rips apart your ideas and opinions as if your thoughts are insignificant. So today, our topic of discussion is centered around how criticism harms your marriage. So when we get married, we entrust our hearts to our spouses to cherish, to honor, and to protect them. When we think of how criticism can be harmful to a marriage, it makes us think of trust and what we initially entrusted our spouse with when we said, I do. What do you feel are some keys or some key things that cause the erosion of trust because of criticism?
For one, if you're always critical, I'm gonna always be on edge when you open your mouth because I don't know what you're going to say. I don't know if it's going to be constructive criticism conveyed in a nice way. I always tell people to do it with love, or are you just going to chew me out? Because if you're just going to chew me out every time you talk, I don't want to hear anything that you have to say at this point.
Yeah.
And you can't expect me to just sit and take it and never react to how you are handling me, because if you love me, you shouldn't be handling me like that.
Wow. That's good. That's good there. That's good. That criticism coming from your spouse, especially if it's something that's repetitive, can become so demeaning to you that you don't really want to communicate, because everything that comes forth, you coming forth like you're the ace of spades, and everybody else is nothing. After that gets old after a while, and like I said earlier, it becomes toxic to our relationship. How are we able to function as a couple in a marriage when we got all of that toxicity in it?
Yeah. I think also I'm left to wonder, sometimes people are modeling in their marriage what they saw modeled, right? And so, criticism was the love language and the communicated language they saw growing up. But as Takia mentioned, right, if you're always critical, then I'm always on the defensive. And it's never even communication, right? It's literally we are preparing for war, right? No one should want to be married where your fists are always balled up, where you're ready to go to battle all the time. I think some criticism also comes from a place of self insecurity, right? The criticizer is insecure, And instead of them dealing with themselves and being honest about their insecurities, they're now trying to throw it on someone else. And so because they feel so low, they get pleasure out of demeaning someone else. And typically it's the person you're married to. Right.
Right.
Like I tell people, anything that's suppressed becomes volcanic, right? If you don't deal with matters that need to be dealt with, you'll have an eruption at some point. Usually when you erupt, it's erupting on the people who have done nothing to you. You think about it from criticism standpoint, you're tearing down the one who's been there with you the longest, the one actually has don't stick with you through it all. And it's some internal insecurities and flaws within yourself that's been unresolved. And now you're taking it out on someone else, and you either don't realize it or you don't care. But at some point, the person who's a recipient of that criticism is going to react. They're going to respond. And when they do react and respond, you may not be able to handle that, but you literally push them against the wall, and now they're coming back guns a-blazing because they have no other choice at this point. They've given you ample opportunities to correct yourself, and now they're coming back to defend themselves. At that point, it's not marriage anymore. Now it's literally survival of the fittest.
You're right.
Yes, sir.
Right.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Well, another thing is that it would make me, if I was the one that was always being criticized, I would always wonder why. What is it? Is it you want a punching bag? Do you not love me? Do you not care about my thoughts, my feelings? We also have to look at the situation too from another perspective. If that person would just simply turn around, I'm talking about the criticizing person, would turn around and look at their spouse, they would see the look of disgust.
Ooh, that's good.
And when you let your spouse get to a point of disgust, right there, you've already torn into your communication. They don't want to interact with you, just like Kia said earlier. And then you run the risk of them not wanting you to touch them.
Yeah.
Why would I want somebody to touch me?
Yeah. It was
that doesn't know how to interact with me. That is always putting me down. That is always making me think that what I'm saying is not worth hearing. Or not, how about not worth trying? Because a lot of times, when we're trying to work together with things, if you're throwing what I'm saying out of the door, then you're saying that what I have to contribute to this marriage or what I bring
not significant.
It's not significant at all where you're concerned. And then, like you were saying, Darrick, a lot of it I do believe is coming from this made up love languages. Criticizing is not a love language.
Not one at all.
But it could have been the language that they saw. With. That's what they saw. That somebody was always putting them down so that they feel that, well, that's how we're supposed to handle situations.
And I think Darrick brought up a critical point earlier when he said many times they can't take a look at themselves and see that the enemy is enemy. It's them. And so they continue to do something that's comfortable to them. And a lot of times, as we said earlier, it could come from what they've seen or some issues that they may have within themselves that they have not conquered. It's just taken over their lives such that they're not able to really communicate effectively like they need to do with the spouses.
Yeah, and chances are that person is going to definitely be the person that when you say, have you ever thought of seeking a good Christian therapist? They're the ones that will say,
nope.
I bet we could say it in unison. I don't need a therapist.
No therapist. And then wrong with me.
I don't have no problem.
And yet there are so many, and I must say, many times it's the male.
100%.
Many times it's the male that won't admit to the fact that they need HELP. And they'll walk around with their chest stuck out like you said, I don't need the therapist. But they don't know that it's critical to the survival of their marriage. That they get that help they need, and they just don't want it. They run from it.
Even the even the little things, right? The little things that probably people may say, oh, that's minor. Like, no, she has feelings. Like you said, most of the time it's the male. She has feelings. Like, you just can't say, like I said, say what you want to say and then expect the person to take it. That's
No,
no.
I'm telling you, if you turn around, you will see the look, because they may be afraid to say something, but I guarantee you there is a look and they are talking in their head. You get on my nerves. I can't stand you. And that goes back. I always talk about what my mom used to say. You know, she would tell you, I love you, but I don't like you. And it's bad when a spouse gets to a point that they don't even like their spouse.
Yeah.
Or even when you're getting ready to have a conversation, it's almost like, what now?
Yeah.
What did I do wrong now?
What now? What are you fixing to talk about?
You're living in defense
you,
mode.
you jump to the defense, and they really haven't even said. All they said is, "Hey,
Yeah.
Hey, what? What do you want to talk about? Because
Yeah.
I know it's the same old thing."
Yeah. 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 Like you said earlier, though, you said, you know, you mentioned about the word why. I think when you get to that point of discuss, you get to that point. Your next question is, what now? Right? Because now it's like, what now? What you about to say now? And I want to just say to those who are listening who can relate, as someone who, you know, grew up in environments of abuse, let me say two things I think are important. The first thing is that verbal abuse is greater than at times physical abuse, because we justify that words don't hurt, and they do hurt. Words do an internal impact, but they do an external impact. And sometimes we downplay the impact. But then secondly, if you're not careful, you'll start trying to defend and justify the behavior of the criticizer, right? You'll start saying, well, that's, he's just joking, he's just playing around. No, it's not.
Or that's
right?
just who he
That's
is.
just who he is, right? And then now you've settled into accepting this behavior. That's not a healthy marriage at all.
No.
That's now a dictator wanting to dominate. And I would say to the one who's a criticizer, you got to ask yourself a serious question. How much do you actually want to be married? Right?
Yeah.
At some point, no one's gonna want to put up with that. That old saying, it's a good thing till it's gone. Like, you think about that, and that's a real situation. When that person gets to the point of looking at you with disgust and looking at you with, they don't even breathe my way, right? That's such a deep issue, and you see it. And the saints aren't exempt from it, right? Sometimes what we'll do is we'll use scripture to try to justify our dominance of people, and take the text out of context in that regard. And you see marriages where you can see from the outside of misery, right?
Yeah.
They're screaming for a way to get out of this marriage because they're just they're done, right?
Yeah.
They're done, and the person is just steadily just pouncing on them about everything. That's just a dangerous situation to be in.
Yeah.
Well, I think that what we've talked about right now, up to this point, is really fixing to lead into what I'm going to ask now. Ideally, your spouse is the person that you turn to for love, acceptance, and affirmation. You tend to give weight to their opinion of you in most areas of your life. Because of this, if they are being critical of you and not building you up, they can cause your self-esteem to be damaged. How do you feel criticism in a marriage affects one's spouse's self-esteem?
Well, it's torn down.
Yeah.
It's like it's completely gone, because like I said, like, you just can't say what you want to say and expect me to be okay with it. You can't do things, especially when you guys are together in public, because now not only am I accepting your behavior, now others are exposed to how you really treat me.
Yeah.
And that could be a problem, because now you are exposing other people, and people are coming to you saying, he always talk to you like that?
What's up with
Is
that?
that normal? That's not normal. He shouldn't be talking to you like that.
Yeah. Go ahead.
I don't know. I'm sure y'all remember this movie, but it was Madei's family reunion.
Mm-hmm.
And you remember the guy that the mom was trying to put with her daughter was very abusive. And they went out one night with couples.
And she yawned.
And in the midst of it, I guess she was really trying to stand her grounds, and she went to walk up. He said, "Don't you walk off from me."
Mm-hmm.
And he snatched her, not even thinking about who was looking.
Yeah.
And so, but there's always somebody that's looking and picking up on what's being said, how that spouse is, and they'll go home and talk about it and say, "Did you see her? She was looking at him. She was looking at him like he disgusted her."
Yeah.
He just asked a simple, in their mind, he asked a simple question, but they don't know what goes on behind the closed doors when they get home.
Correct.
It takes away their self-worth and the self-value. They don't have any. You know, I walked into a patient's room, and this is an elderly couple, up in age, but I could tell that through the years in their marriage, that she has been one who has been criticized or talking down to the point where he maintained the conversation, and all she could do is sit with her head down. She never could make eye contact because he was holding the conversation and she had no input.
Wow.
And it just, to me, being that old, you would think that it would be a little better than what it was, but you could tell that she had been battered mentally. Because if somebody keep coming at you like that during the course of time, you stop talking.
Yeah.
And I mean, to the point where you don't say anything. You just sit there.
Anything.
And all she could do is, when I left the room, say, thank you, chaplain, and put her head back down. That was it.
Wow.
So
because here's the thing.
Everything away from me.
Wow.
Here's the thing. You know, when you are doing what you're doing in a negative way, eventually I'm gonna shut down anyway. Because you know what? The people come to the conclusion, it doesn't make sense to say anything. You're not gonna accomplish anything. It's gonna be the same old cycle. He gonna or she, because now listen, now we got some women now. We're not gonna leave us out.
Thank you so much.
Say it wrong,
Thank
just
you so
like
much.
that. We're not gonna leave us out because we can be domineering critical beings as well.
Come on now.
So whoever the critical person is, the one that is not is going to be, they get to the point that just say, you know what?
Man,
I'm gonna let you argue by yourself. I just don't have nothing to say. And I just shut down the minute it goes there. It goes there, okay, you by yourself.
You win.
When you get tired, you shut up.
Or you're going to sleep.
you win. And it's interesting about that. Go ahead, please.
And really quick, not only public, but when your kids are watching.
Oh boy.
That's detrimental, because the kids can then come to you and ask you, well, why are you not standing up for yourself? You just gonna let them talk to you like that?
Yeah. And somebody's gonna pick up that trait.
Yes.
That's right.
And carry it
because
over.
They got the trait, because they saw somebody. And all it's going to do is continue to be a vicious cycle. That's why people have, mamas and daddies have to realize they are their children's first teacher. You're teaching them how to be treated by a man, how to treat a woman. It comes from what they're seeing. And now they got two choices, because life is about choices. They can say, when I grow up, I'm not going to put up with that kind of foolishness. Or they find themselves in the very same situation.
Yeah. I think about that a lot as a father of a daughter. And I've said it many times, like, if I fail as a father, she'll look for love in all the wrong places.
Yes, sir.
But if I pass the test, and she won't ever settle for some knucklehead trying to grab her attention anywhere she goes, right? So it's a daily thing, right? So every day is testing ground. The way I talk to her mom, I treat her mom, the way we interact with each other, the way I treat her, all those type of things, critically important. And but also it's the child looks at one parent through the lenses of hero and the other one through the lenses of disgust, right? You didn't defend yourself. I can't stand whatever it may be, and we don't realize that. And again, my kid did something years ago for us. I came home one day after some stuff at the church, and not even trying to be this way. I came home and I was talking about something. She was like, "Hey man, listen." She's like, "You the pastor at the church? Like, hold on now. Like, you're not pastor. You're not talking. I'm not calling you Pastor D at home." But in that exchange, it was like I blinked twice. I'm like, yeah, I got you. Because it's a thing where you could be so programmed, right?
Mm-hmm.
And if we're not careful, you will start treating your spouse and your household, right, as employees, as subordinates, right, in that regard. Now you're talking to them as if they're not, right? And you got to remember that the scripture says that your spouse, your wife, brothers, is your helpmeet, right? Person can't help you if you're always beating up on them. Right. You would say, but I'm not abusing her. Yeah, but what are your words saying? Right. And sometimes it can be mental dominance.
That's right.
And here's what I think about all the time. If someone were to take my wife away and ask her in a room that nobody's in there but her and the person, describe your marriage or describe your husband, what would she say? Right. And if I have to pause and wonder what she would say or be afraid of what she would say to somebody, that's a bigger issue. And yet what we think is people will put on the mask. They'll everything on social media is wonderful. Your marriage is great, but you're literally living in hell. But you're so conditioned to try to impress the outside world. That you've settled into this criticism. The last thing I want to say is constructive criticism is only beneficial if the goal is to build you up.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Right?
Yes, sir.
It's not constructive criticism if you're always using it to tear me down. And we got to be careful about trying to justify that behavior as being anything less than what it really is that you are tearing a person down, and that's not love, that's dominance.
Yes,
right.
Sir. So that makes us very careful of when we speak.
Yes,
be
sir.
very careful about what you're about to say.
Yes, sir.
To make sure that it's something that's not going to be demeaning, especially to that one who you love.
Because for example, I can use me and Darrick as an example. It's Pancake Sunday, right? So he said, "Oh my gosh, why do you keep making?"
First of all, I don't sound like that.
Oh my gosh, why do you keep making these pancakes so big? So the first time I didn't say nothing. He said it again. I said, "Listen, sweetie, some husband somewhere on Sunday mornings,
come on, somebody,
their wife to cook for them. And they got to go get McDonald's and everything else to eat this peanut butter and jelly. So I just need you to be a little bit more appreciative of what I do on Sunday morning."
And I appreciate you, but I don't sound like that. But again, that's a good example, right? Because what happens is you get spoiled by a treatment until you forget the blessing of the treatment. Now you criticize the one who's spoiling you because now you feel like you're entitled to it, not realizing it. At any given point, the person who's blessing you could say, "You know what, I'm done."
Yeah.
Right? So that's a good example in a better voice that I use, but that's a good example.
Yeah.
Because I tell you, I don't get up on Sunday morning and cook breakfast. There's not enough time. First of all, Danny leaves too early. The sacrifice.
Exactly.
Because it would be a big sacrifice for me to get up and fix him breakfast. That means that I would have to get up around 5:30, 6 o'clock.
Yeah.
And Rose,
it ain't happening.
it's not happening.
I love you, but I love sleep.
Now I will fix him breakfast on Saturday sometime.
Yeah.
But I don't make a habit of that. Because you have to be careful because sometimes people do get accustomed to it. Yeah. It's supposed to be a treat.
Sorry.
It's supposed to be, I love it. He said, "I'm sorry." It's supposed to be a treat.
Right.
If I come in on Saturday and I fix breakfast, he's most appreciative. He says, "Thank you." But don't come in and say, where my breakfast at?
Right? It's an entitlement, right?
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
So I'm not doing it with love and joy. I'm doing it because he want me to get up and make these pancakes on Sunday morning. I'm just using that as an example.
Why your eyes? It's real stuff, man.
Well, Well, I'm going, we're almost to that point to close out. And so I'm just going to say something to share. I feel that we've had a very good discussion here. And I really hope and pray that somebody has received something in how criticism can harm their marriage.
Yes.
A oneness marriage needs wisdom. Wisdom is a skill in everyday living. It means responding to circumstances according to God's design. A wise home builder recognizes God as the architect and the builder of marriages. As we ask God for wisdom and search the scriptures, He supplies the skill to build our homes. One of the most critical issues a husband and wife must settle in their life together is who will be the builder of our marriage. King David warned, unless the Lord builds the house, its builder labors in vain. For many, the architect and builder of the marriage is self. Because of that, it's no wonder so many marriages fail. And we would like to just leave that simple note with you, as my pastor would say, to lay on the line of your mind and let the Holy Ghost flow.
Come on now.
Come on here.
So we are at that part of the day where we want to close this segment and let you know how you can reach out to us. You can inbox us at Danny and Rhoda Whitfield or Marriage Takes Work on Facebook. You can email us at marriagetakeswork2016@gmail.com.
Now, do us a favor and share this broadcast with your friends, married and single. Remember to turn to each other and not on each other. With that being said, I'd like to thank our very special guests, Pastor Darrick and First Lady McGhee, for joining us today on Marriage Takes Work. We also remind you, our listening and viewing audience, to stay the course and be blessed.
This is Rhoda Whitfield. We pray you gained some nuggets from today's topic to apply to your marriage. Joining us next week will be Elder Gerald and First Lady Sharon McGhee. So set your alarm and join us as we dive into another Marriage Takes Work topic. Bye for now, until next week.
Thank you for tuning in today. If you wish to contact us, inbox us at Marriage Takes Work on Facebook.
And don't forget to join us next week, same time, for another segment of Marriage Takes Work. Remember to love hard
and work your marriage.